folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos though, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys, it goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we are on issue 61 of Stormbringer, and it is part 2 of our AoS Gargant. So, a pretty cool sprue, because the idea with this, as it was pointed out last week, and I've verified it and it can be done, if you have 3 copies of issue 60, you can make 3 giants with 1 copy of issue 61. Because you do get the multiple heads, your hands and weapons and such like, you can very much do it. So, you know, take that information as you will, if you can find any more copies of this anyway. But if you're in say Australia, Germany, France or anywhere like that where the magazine's not quite at issue 61 yet, get your orders in, get yourself some extra copies and build yourself some extra giants if you want extra giants at this anyway. Now obviously this sprue is a bit of a dated sprue. You do have a few little options on here though, so you do have things like the cage, barrel, cow, with skeleton and such like that. If you do not want to use them on your giant, you can always make things like objective markers with them. You can use them as pieces towards scatter terrain. You can even spruce up bases with them and such like that. So if you've got any of the large bases, say like the Storm Drakes later on, you could always have a couple of pieces on the floor and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So you do have options with all these bits. So whatever you do with the bits that you're not using, I personally would not chuck them away. Literally save them, utilise them in many different ways, have a bit of fun with it. But yeah, really good stuff, and yeah, it's a decent sprue. So, and I'm looking forward to building that giant because it'll be good fun. Anywho, moving into this week's issue, first off we are greeted by the Realm of Fire. A blast of fire lights the skies as above as ash rains down to the ground below. The heat from crackling flames is as intense as the passions and tempers of those who live here in Akshi, the Realm of Fire. In this realm, the flames of war burn bright and armies surge to meet each other with blazing fury in never-ending conflict. So actually, the Realm of Fire is a realm of blazing infernos and arid lands. Across its sulphurous plains wind rivers of lava under an ash-heavy sky. Where plants grow in abundance, they are clustered in dense jungles. The heat gives rise to an intense humidity in which only creatures like lizards and the flame toads can survive. So, a little bit of information about the Realm of Fire. Akshi is very interesting. So there are several stories currently going on in the Realm of Fire. So for instance, the latest Callous and Toll book is set in Cinderfall, which is one of the main cities within the Realm of Fire. There is the Black Talons book is to do with the Realm of Fire as well, if I remember rightly. And there's a lot to do with it as well. So there's a lot of little bits of information, and even the Realm Slayer, I think it was, the Gottfried Gurnason novel, is set in the Realm of Fire to begin with, and he travels from there to other places. But yeah, a bit of information for you, and it's a bit interesting as well. So obviously, the Realm of Fire is obviously the home of the Fire Slayers. So, you know, they live there because, you know, fire on fire, because, you know, it makes sense, doesn't it really? And such like. So obviously the Realm of Akshi as well is known by many names, including Emberstone and Rage Rock, and it appears as in the form of a burning coal. So, you know, a bit of information about your realm stone for this realm as well, so pretty interesting. And obviously, you know, there's been a lot of war, mostly involving the denizens of Khorne, have been attacking Akshi for a long time. Anywho, obviously you have your paint guide as well. So last week we had our build guide for our AoS Gargant. Your paint guide all will depend obviously how you want to paint it. So if you want pale flesh, this is a pretty decent way of doing it. So painting him, obviously, good old Wraithbone to begin with, and then going over, and then a glaze of Wraithbone over top gives you a pale skin look, especially over those big bulging sagging areas and such like. You can get yourself a really nice skin tone. If you're going to do it with contrast paints, obviously you got Guilliman flesh and stuff like that, you can do it that way, or you can go darker flesh and whatever route you want to, really. Have a bit of fun with it. Obviously, different flesh tones do different things, so there are guides online that you can find, in all honesty, where you can find some really good information about how to paint different flesh tones. So it depends on which colour skin you would like your Gargant to have, and that kind of guide can also be translated into your smaller minis. It all really much depends on how you want to paint though. Obviously this is a very generic, very straightforward, and in all honesty it works. It does work. It's a very decent way of doing it. It just depends if that is what you want out of it. Obviously your other bits are things like the clothing and such like, and the rags that the giant is wearing, including this big massive nappy, is down to you how you want to go about painting it. Obviously it's a giant. Most of what they're wearing is torn from scraps and such like that, like sails of ships and canvases from carts and such like. So, and in all honesty, part of it's even you could do them in different colour schemes, say like Avanand and Norn and such like that from the old world, and that was the idea behind them, so you could do them in all them little different ways. Then you've got your paint guides for things like your extra bits. So a cow, if you want to paint a cow like that, it's entirely up to you. These skeletons, very easy. Use skeleton horde over the top of it because it makes sense. And yeah, just depends on how you want to paint it though, but it's all about your preference. The guide is pretty decent and it does a very good job at what it needs to do, which is teaching you a very straightforward way of painting this humongous enemy that you can have on part of your forces of destruction. But as per usual, it just depends on how you want to go about doing it. Obviously the base is fairly bare. I personally, if I was going for something like this, I would have to add some bits to it. Obviously there are many ways of doing it. I've seen people adding signposts to the back and such like that. I've seen people adding essentially trees to it. I've even seen people putting things like skulls across all of them. It's entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it and making it look your own, but otherwise, bit of fun. Fix your adornments on him, like whether you want a cow hanging from his belt and such like that, but it's entirely up to you. But pretty decent. It's a pretty decent unit to have. And it will be a nice painting challenge for quite a few people as well, I imagine. So take your time with it and enjoy the process. That is my main tip for pretty much any painting, but especially for big guys like this. Enjoy your process. Moving on though, we get more of the order tactics for Fundrix Profiteers. Obviously some of these things are going to go out the window with the next edition of good old Age of Sigmar, but otherwise you get information for your Grunstock Thunderers as well as Fundrix Profiteers, and how to utilise certain things like the idea that they are marksmen and such like. Then we move on, we get the El Guzzler Gargant War Scroll. Obviously this will change as well during the next edition of Age of Sigmar, but it is what it is. But otherwise fairly straightforward. He's a big heavy boy, and you know, his damages can change depending on how hurt he is and such like. The same with his moves. So pretty big, pretty fun, and you know, if he dies, he can fall over and do some damage to enemies. So it is what it is. But yeah, pretty good and quite interesting as well. Then we move on. We have our new battle pack as well. So this is obviously all to do with fighting in the realm of Akshi, and so we have new information about how to utilise the lands, the realms and such like as well, and how they're going to work. You get a new battle plan. We have new ways of utilising these battle plans as well, so you're using quite a large space but yet you've not got a massive amount of units in there. So entirely up to you. You're only using one battle map for this one, and you're using a small amount of forces, and obviously you can keep on replaying this, and depending on how you want to pick out your troops. So you can obviously have a single hero and then troops, or you can have stuff like that. You can have a bit of fun with it. That's what I'm trying to say. Anywho, moving on, you can also get the mustering for battle as well. So you get your units in army. So if you're going to utilize this type of thing, I personally would either photocopy that or create a new one in Excel or something like that, and you can have it all there. So you can keep a track of what's dying, if it's been destroyed, and going on through there and everything like that. Entirely up to you how you want to go about doing it, but you can do that if you want to, and how the plans work in your favour. And you can build a bit of narrative if you wish to as well. Moving on, you also get a good old pull-out section. So this pull-out is for obviously the Realm of Fire, so you get the Scions of Flame. Unfortunately, I think they're one of the Warhammer the Warcry factions that are going to be discontinued soon. Hammerhal Akshi being one of the cities of Sigmar, so a very interesting place as well. So obviously we've got the Hammerhal Akshi, good old Cities of Sigmar army. You get your Hammers of Sigmar, who do reside in Akshi as well, and the Ogre Moor tribes. So all good stuff. And obviously your Fire Slayers on the other side. And into this pull-out section, you do obviously get the Great Parch. So the Great Parch is a very, very large area. There are many unique areas in there, including the Grimhold, Vorstagi Mont, the ruins of Araminthia, and even Tempest Eye, and a bit more information about it as well. So you do get little bits and pieces about all of this area, and it's up to you how you want to go about doing it. So utilize it how you want to, but really, really interesting. And obviously it actually is one of the more interesting realms as well. Then moving on, next week obviously is a paint issue. So we get White Scar and we get Siler Bright Green. They're okay paints, they're decent, they'll do exactly what you need them to do. And then in issue 63 we get another good old Cadron Overlord in the shape of the Argonaut Admiral. Get a bit of information about the Head of Knights of Slaanesh and such like. Really good stuff though. Obviously the magazine's picking up and getting more and more interesting, and it is what it is. But anyway, that is it from me. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye bye now.
Thank you.